Hello, welcome back. This is Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and we're doing the Sunday School studying of things. Assassin's Creed was, yeah, I've been doing Spider-Man, of just wandering and sauntering through in it, and yeah, I think people have gotten tired of boring old me talking while Spider-Man's swinging, so it's boring old me talking while Evie is sauntering through this lovely park in London. So yeah, I'm pretty sure the problem is Spider-Man, not the fact that I'm boring. Regardless, what my church is doing we have a program of study, which in addition to whatever you are studying, basically we study this year the New Testament, and then we discuss it during the week, and then we discuss it during church. And it's actually a pretty good program because it's set up, designed for anybody. The program's very simple and straightforward. You have the reading, you have questions to be asked, and it's for people living alone. It's for families with small children, families with older children, just a regular married couple without any children. It's a really well set up thing that can be adapted to any situation, so it's really cool. So last week, if you watched my last Sunday school thing, we talked about Matthew and Luke 1, and we discussed it last Sunday. So I talked about Matthew and Luke 1, my impressions of it, and I'm going to talk about what we studied or what we discussed in church last Sunday, and then go into my current reading, which is Matthew and Luke 2. If that makes sense. It made sense in my head. How'd that guy get over there? Did he jump the fence? Oh, only assassins are supposed to jump fences. So, regardless. So, this actually came as a bit of a personal thing to me, so I've kind of avoided doing it, and it's just been a busy week. Otherwise, I would have done this much earlier in the week. But what we talked about is, oh, my mind just went dead. I want to say Nicodemus, but it's not Nicodemus. It's John's father. So, John the Baptist's father, I should say, just to make it clear. So, John, as I'm sure you're aware, or his father, was a priest, and after a lifetime of study, he finally got a chance to go back into the Holy of Holies and conduct his business. And what he did, and he saw a vision when he did this. And so in the vision, an angel appeared to him and gave him a great deal of message, but also told him that his wife would get pregnant. Now this, was a little unbelievable for him. He was in his 60s. His wife was, his wife was, I presume, about his age. I'm presuming the age. He was well on in years, so I'm presuming around 60-ish. And, he hadn't been blessed with children as of yet. And this was very hard for him to believe, so he asked for a sign, and he said, and was given as a sign that he would not be able to speak until the child was born. Which, if you've studied religious matters, asking for signs rarely ends well for people. So we got to talking about this in the class, and the teacher, had said that, he'd been training, in preparation to see a vision his entire life, and then he doubts the vision he's seeing. This is really bad on him. And I responded, wait a second, he's an old man. He never expected to have children. It's a blessing that's... Ooh, my train safe is full. Sorry. It's a blessing he never expected to receive at this point. He and his wife had presumably been trying for years. His wife is pretty old. He had actually been away from her for a few months to do this job. And so, then suddenly, being told that his wife is pregnant by an angel hundreds of miles away, it's a little unbelievable. And so the teacher kind of dismissed this and said, well, this is a he's a nice guy, don't get me wrong, but he had said, well, that's kind of the popular view, which I took a little bit offense at. If there's one thing I am, it's not popular. Regardless, that was what he was talking about. That was how he was talking about it, and we kind of moved on. But we got back when we compared this to Mary's receiving the news that she would give birth to Jesus. She was not married at this point and was still a virgin. And so that was a bit of a shock and surprise for her as well. And, we went over it, and they're almost identical in most regards, except for one point. She did question it. She's saying, like, and it's less a question of whether the angel was telling the truth and more a question of her worthiness. She just said, are you, how could I have been so blessed as to receive this wonderful blessing? Which I think is a pretty good response. Yeah, I'll head this way. And, but she didn't ask for a sign, and that's really the only difference between her and what Nicodemus, or not Nicodemus, Nathaniel? No. Don't you hate it when you can't remember a name? I'm really bad with names. But what, the father of John had experienced was that she didn't ask for a sign, and he did. So I raised my hand, I pointed all this out, that's the really big difference. Then, I paused because I wasn't sure quite if I should phrase this or how to phrase this. But I asked the teacher, how old are you? And, he goes to my church. I know him. I didn't know how old he was. But he has 2 children. Eldest is 9. And he said, I'm 32. So, he'd had children since he was in his early 20s. Pretty much. Ooh, I need to buy stuff too. So, yay, I'm rich. Okay. So, and he said, I'm 32, is what he said. Sorry, I got distracted by the vendor. And, I said, okay, I'm 41. At this point in my life, I've pretty much given up on the idea of having children. I've received, blessings. I've received, people telling me that I would be blessed with children. And personal revelation and blessings from members of my church have told me this. And I find it virtually impossible to believe. Just because I'm at this age, I'm not really in a position to have children, and it doesn't seem like it will ever actually happen to me. And so, and I told him, I very much relate to this, the father of John in this regard. Because, I don't see it actually happening at any point in my life of me having children. I mean, all the logic of the world, everything that the world tells us is that it should never happen. And so I very much relate to him, and if an angel appeared to me, I would probably say, believe everything he said, but then if he said, and yeah, within, a year, you're going to have a child, I'd be like, I would probably be like, okay, are you sure you've got the right guy? I don't want to say, no, don't give me a sign, but, are you sure you have the right guy? Joshua, yeah. Anyway, so I very much related to him, and, he responded quite well to that. So that was, for me, was a very personal thing. And I think that's part of the reason why I kind of delayed in making this video. Was just it was kind of a personal thing to have to share in church, and now have to do it in my own readings and responses. So, that was the big thing I got out of it. There was a lot of other interesting things I got about Matthew and Luke in there that I didn't know. According to the teacher, based on a study, well, I'd forgotten this, actually. Luke and Mark weren't original apostles. I knew that, like, a long time ago, but I'd forgotten it. And I'd forgotten that there was more than one person made an apostle after Christ's death. I'd forgotten that was recorded. There was, of course, a replacement for Judas Iscariot, but, I'd forgotten that other people came around and became apostles after that. Which is kind of silly since, my religion, I belong to Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, believe in actually the same organizations of apostles and prophets and so on. And as such, getting to the end here, I think, let me rush across the street here. So as such, I should have remembered that was in there, but I'd forgotten it, so that was nice to be reminded of. But let's move on to the current reading, which was Matthew and Luke 2, which dealt with the birth of Christ and the 3 wise men, or the wise men, I should say. Their number is not mentioned in the scriptures. I don't think that's that important. I'm gonna hop the wall here. Oh, wait. There we go. Forgot I'd be running to hop the wall. Just lovely stroll through Buckingham Palace area. I love the mist in this. I think it's just such a beautiful game. And it's almost like I'm in London in the 19th century. The magic of video games. Regardless, yeah. It deals with the birth of Christ, the wise men, and all the other people. And there's some, the great thing about this is while I know the scriptures pretty well, I read them and study them a lot, there's so much in it that I'm being reminded of. And I say, like, I'd forgotten this is, a really great program just simply because I'm being constantly reminded of things I'd forgotten. But there were multiple people who witnessed the birth of Christ. It wasn't just the shepherds that showed up to pay homage. The wise men didn't show up until a couple years later. They weren't there at the actual birth, which people forget. But there were other people who were called and told of angels to come and appear and see the birth of Christ, which I think is just amazing. I could swim across and see that island, but nah. So, yep. So that was like the big thing, was just being reminded of all the people who witnessed Christ's birth and just, how they reacted, what they brought to the whole, well, I don't want to say party, but the whole witnessing of it. I think it's just very incredible. I feel guilty for walking through those flowers. So, this is a nice place. I haven't just strolled in this game in a while, so this is kind of nice for me to stroll around. Good job in the gardening there, pal. And so on. So, I'm gonna head back this way. Take a look at Buckingham Palace. So yeah, those are kind of the big things I got out of the Sunday school lessons last time, and there will hopefully be a lot more that I will be getting out. We'll be able to just sit back and enjoy it. Regardless, that's what I got. That's what I took away. So like and subscribe if you like this. I will hopefully do one much sooner, than Saturday or Sunday by the time you'll probably see this. Of the what I get out of Sunday school next week and what I get from studying the next lesson after that. And hopefully I will be able to remember names. Yeah. I want to say Nathan. It's an N name. I know that. I'll get his name right for the next video. Anyway, I will see you in the next video, actually. Let's get Evie in sunlight and on a lovely shot of her just standing there, looking out, with Buckingham Palace. And now let's do more. Yeah, there we go. That's the shot. Anyway, see you next time. Bye.